or on top of your cowboy hat. That's how you get around inside the dark tunnel here. After they lost natural light, a lot of the men would pinch their candle to save pennies, follow the tracks, and follow the walls. So that's how they get here. Today we have beautiful electricity, so we're going to have somewhat lit again, but it will get dark and it will get tight in spaces. So if you'll follow me, you'll notice the Eagle Mine is named after the Golden Eagle coin. Golden Eagle coin is a $20 piece, and it's exactly now. That's the currency of the day. Again, that's the only thing that was spent. A lot of times, low cargo when you buy gold.
Okay. Pasok na tayo sa tunnel. Ang lamig dito sa ilalim.
Chinese on land was 4'10". He was built by Pac-Man with a toy. He can eat through this mountain. You'll notice that he didn't make a lot of luxury for me. It's a little short in places. It's going to get a lot narrower and a lot deeper here. So look behind you. You'll see all the finishing marks there. Again, hand dug to this point. You could not file for a blasting permit until you found your quartz. Quartz is what produces gold. Here you'll find a very prominent quartz schist. That's where the gold's located. All this is ancient seabed. It produces nothing but fossils. This is your metamorphic rock. This is your sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock usually comes from the sediment at the bottom of the ocean. That's how these mountains are formed. Big violent explosion, the seafloor goes up, rises, the organic seabed cools. Metamorphic rock is your magma at the bottom. That magma has to fill the fissures that's created by that violent tectonic event. The Julian schist and the Lake Elsinore fault violently erupt. The magma is then shot through the fissures because that has to exhaust. That's where all your base metals. So our panning exercise, we created a small tectonic liquefaction event is what that would be called. On a small scale. This is on a large scale. So again, the gold goes to the bottom, just like liquefaction that we did in our panning, on a large scale, and then when it needs to exhaust, the magma shoots up through all the open fissures. Lava tubes in Hawaii are similar because of the newest land formation on Earth. 3 million years ago, that might look the same, except this would be organic seafloor that had molten instead of lava. So you'll notice there's still lots of gold in here. You can see it here. Even when you put your hand across it, it shimmers. There's still a shimmer. That's how you tell fool's gold from real gold. If you cast a shadow onto fool's gold, it'll turn black or it'll disappear. If you cast a shadow onto real gold, the shimmer will stay. As you can tell, even with the light there in this little vein here, you can still see there's plenty of gold in this quartz. Again, we cannot mine it because you need mercury, borax, cyanide, and water. California going to let us do that today? Or strip mine these mountains so our town's a foot under mud? None of that's going to happen. Plus, even on a containment scale, some mercury will still leach into the water table. And again, we're on a well system here, and we drink our water, so not viable. Much more lucrative as a tourist attraction. $20 for the gold out of here, or you want to take 40 people?
Sabi ng gold dito. Ito pala na-experience ng mga gold miner. Baba, kailangan mo yumuko. Hindi ako makatayo. Puro bato. Puro bato. Grabe, tsaka ang lamig dito. Grabe. Ito yung parang redis na ano. Ako sa movie ko lang nakikita ito.
The reason for that, in the 1860s, if this place was closed in 1934,
ang dami ditong mga daanan dito. Parang yung binutasan nila ng gusto yung bundok.
They bombed Pearl Harbor, and we have a huge iron drive after that to build warships. San Diego was a big hub for that. It became our largest naval base in the world was in San Diego after Pearl Harbor. It was bombed. That held most of our ships. They also built most of our ships out of San Diego. That shipbuilding effort needed a lot of recycled iron. We pulled all the tracks, we pulled all the tools, we pulled everything. Anything that was steel was used for the war effort. Then in 1965, Ed Sprague, you saw Paul out here, he said hi to you, waved to the folks that were leaving. He's fourth generation of owning this business. You'll see the Sprague land office in town. That's still called a land office. It's a real estate office, but they still call it the land office, which I love. Kind of Yellowstone feel, Kevin Costner.
Sabi ng tourist guide namin nung time na active pa itong mining site, ang ilaw lang na ginagamit nila rito, kandila lang. Tsaka yung track, yun ang nag-guide sa kanila kung saan sila pupunta. Kaya ma-imagine niyo kung gaano talaga kadilim dito doon sa tagol ng unang panahon.
So here we are at the powderman's desk. The powderman is the guy that could file for the blasting permit. You can only get a blasting permit if you found the quartz. You could just not blast into the mountain willy-nilly. You had to at least hand dug. The reason why they required a blasting permit and you could only file a claim with the quartz was in 1849. Somebody would have a claim in the middle of Sutter's Creek. They'd pull that wood stake out. Somebody would come put a wood stake there, and the original owner would come back and the shooting would start. Well, the water belongs to everybody by 1870, by the time this mine's open. I can pan, just like I said at the panning troughs, I can pan right next to you on your claim in the middle of the water. I can actually pan on private property. I can pan as long as I access the property through the middle of the creek and exit through the middle of the creek. The water is mine, the water is ours. So even on private property, you don't own the water, you only own the, you can use it for irrigation if you get permits and stuff like that, but still I can trespass basically on your property. It's very common in Montana among fly fishermen to fly fish on private property, and as long as you don't step, I would not step on the shoreline, don't recommend it, because in Montana they do things different. As well. So I try and stick to public lands. Yeah, Yellowstone, there you go. So I'm gonna have you try and make a 5-inch hole, 2.5 inches round, right where that hole is.
What's that?
It has to go all the way 5 inches down. I think you're gonna have to hit it.
Yeah.
Hit it hard. You're not cut out for this. And that's not an insult, because none of us are. First of all, you need to be 4'10", you need to be built like a fire hydrant. These guys are so brutal, if they couldn't get the hole done in the bedrock like that, they would have somebody hold a bar up like that, a pry bar, and swing a sledgehammer over their back. That's how you get the hole started. A lot of the stronger guys would use what's called a starter rod, one-handed, and try and do it like this. Also very dangerous. You didn't have a lot of accidents reported here. We had 2 in the whole time of the mine, 64 years. Now that's not to say they didn't report anything, because they didn't document anything. We didn't have OSHA or workman's comp or anything like that.
So were they doing this with candles on their heads?
Yes, they were doing it, yeah. If that, sometimes they pinch the candle to save money, and they would find the place they wanted to work, and they do it in the dark. And swing a sledgehammer over the back, it'd be dimly lit, and then by the time the hole was dug, all the stuff would be done by hand in the pitch black a lot. They would always pinch candles. A lot of times when they left the ship, they'd hold the bell ring, they'd feel the walls like this and walk the tracks in the dark, in the pitch black, until they saw the light at the end of the tunnel, literally, and then they would exit that way. Also during blasting, men did not evacuate the mine. They stayed in here. They go into what's called jump holes. So have you ever heard fire in a hole? That's where the term comes from. They would go into the hole, basically duck in a crouch position, get in a small hole. The concussion of the blast would race right by them, because the concussion needs oxygen. It would follow the shaft oxygen, and it didn't have left or right turns because it didn't have any oxygen go, so it'd go right back. In a 330, this one was used for backfill, never got filled, we closed the mine. This is more of an example of how one fills up. All the waste rock would go out of here. So after they blasted and the men were in here, they'd all jump out of their jump holes, they'd gather the rock, and they'd fill this. None of the waste rock got out of here. The only thing they wanted moved all the way out to the middle of the process was quartz. And quartz produces gold. Any of the ancient seabed or anything like that, not good. So they would just put it in these backfills. This one's completely full. You'll see the shoring that's holding it up. That's for integrity purposes, but also to hold the shoring in as well. So it serves two purposes here. It really shores up our next level above us. And when we started this one, we were gonna start backfilling it, and by 1934 we closed, so it's empty. We have a jaguar, a black one, her head's like this big back there. It's a house cat, but literally her head's like the size of a
Hindi lang makita dito sa
well fed on rats and cats.
camera.
So
May
here's
kinang
our
yung
shaft
ano eh.
here.
May
Here's the
kinang yung mga
Helen
bato eh.
basket
Yung
is
mga
going on right here.
may kinang daw
So
yun.
you'd be lowered down two at a time. Again, like I said, we
May
only had
gold daw
two
dyan.
accidents in this mine. The reason why I was talking about safety record in some mines today.
Ito yata yung mga type ng
You have two or three
explosive ginagamit nila. Akala ko mano-mano lang yung pag-create nila itong tunnel. Pinapasabog pala nila.
Geology lesson we had about the three rockets rising
Ito
up.
meron din papunta ron. Kailan walang ilaw.
This perfect example right here. You can see the formation on mine. They go 6,000 feet at Mount Laguna and Palomar.
And then-
It's not a Sierra Nevada or a Rocky Mountain type event, but it's pretty significant as far as, if we had this earthquake now that created these mountains, that kind of volatility, nobody would be here. It would wreck pretty much California.
So this wasn't dug out, this was a fissure?
No, this was dug out till here, but this hole right here was a piece of quartz. So if you took all the mountains away and washed all the seabed away, this quartz would just been a spire, translucent spire about the size of the Empire State Building. So it would have been gorgeous if you just took the mountains away. So just imagine they did it backwards, basically. So they hand dug everywhere they needed to. They could only blast when they found quartz. When they found that quartz, you'll see the drift here. This is a quartz drift. Very, very prominent. So you can see exactly how it formed. Here's the seabed on both sides, and that metamorphic lava just went right through, and then it cooled in between the seabed, and that's what we have. So when you walked in here and you dug this tunnel, you would just have a big quartz wall in front of you, and you dig through it till you got to the end. Typically, they are only about a foot wide. The star vein's an unusual one, it's 3 feet. So in Quartzsite, Arizona, you'll find quartz that was blasted, boom, into the air and then landed. So it's different. That quartz is on the surface and that quartz is all being mined. And some of it has gone down like craters from falling out of the sky. But that violent event was an explosion, boom, blasted all the quartz and the quartz lands all over the desert. So a little different quartz mining operation there, but you still need to crush the rock and you still need lots of water. So again, this shaft is about 525 feet in its original state, and now it's about 425. This quartz schist, you'll see, oh great, now we don't have to lower men down in a handbasket anymore, we can use a hoist. This solves all the problems in the world, right? Well, no, it creates a lot of challenges too. Noise being one, you couldn't talk over it, and you certainly couldn't communicate with the men in the shaft. How'd they know what time it was? They were
Grabe, sobrang lamig talaga dito sa loob. Samantalang sa labas, ang init-init. Dito guys, kailangan namin umakyat sa parang second na floor nitong tunnel. Meron silang, kaya kung nakikita nyo yung hagdan na kahoy para umakyat sa itaas. Marami silang tunnel dito sa ilalim ng bundok pero hindi lahat pinapapasukan nila.
Ito may isang kwarto. Okay.
Typically, when you see a mining scope in an archaeological dig, you can get it when you use black powder. And black powder would cause the artifacts to all go up all over the place. So a mining scope comes from a mine, not an archaeological dig. That mining scope is what we would all access the next level.
Yeah,
So
I've done
that
it,
mining
guys.
did, if we wanted to get up to level 4, we went from level 6 to level 5. If we want to go to level 4, we would have to climb that instead of these mini stairs. That would be our access. As soon as you turn left up there, we do not have electricity. It's not wired at all. So when you turn left,
Ito guys, aakyat na ako ngayon sa sa second floor ng tunnel.
and the firemen provide you. So again, I've been up there a couple times. As soon as we turn left, you can't see. I freaked out. Never work in the mining industry again.
Ito na guys, yung second floor nitong tunnel.
Ito daw yung quarter ng foreman. Dito siya nag-stay down.
The difference here is we were called a good camp. The reason why we're called a good camp is we have a lot of southern Confederate soldiers, like I said, 200.
Bawal na raw pala sa California ang gold mining kaya hindi na tinuloy itong mga to. Ito yung mga tools na ginagamit nila. So basically bago sila mag-start, ito yung mga sinsilo. Ayan o. Yung mga pinapasabog mo na pala, nagamitan ng mga explosive device. Pagkatapos pasabugin, saka na sila titik-tik. Kaya ngayon, hindi na ako makatayo ng diretso rito. Makiyuko na ako.
Typically, the men, like I said, you can enjoy it as a break because you get about 14 minutes. You get 4.5 minutes on the charge, then you get about 10 minutes for the dust to settle. So you heard that term, when the dust settles, then you go back to work. So you get about 14-minute break. It's estimated they had anywhere from 2 or 3 blasts at a time in this mine, and so you would probably have 3 15-minute breaks during the day. That'd be it. And they wouldn't be voluntary breaks. They would be told when they get a blast and get in the hole. Here we have the honey pot. Anybody know what a honey pot is? Nope. A honey pot is a restroom. And men would use the restroom here. That honey pot has black powder on it. The reason for the black powder box, same way we light a match in the bathroom today, the sulfur controls the odor and neutralizes the odor. So they would pour black powder in there to neutralize the odor. The last man out would be in charge of dumping that honey pot, regardless of whether you're a boss or whatever. If you were the last man out of here, you'd grab that by those 2 handles, you put it up against your waist. So you're basically carrying it like this, the pot out to the end. Nobody would help you, it was the last man out. If you've ever heard the term, the last man out is the rotten egg, that's where you get that saying from. Because the last man out of the mine had to carry the rotten egg smelling sulfur pot out to the exit.
Who carried it in?
So follow me out this way.
Ito yung
You called that the widowmaker. Not you the silver.
machine pang butas nila. Tapos lagyan na ng explosive.
Mas masikip itong daanan dito sa may second floor nitong tunnel na ito kaysa sa baba.